I'm Kole and I drive the 99 XJ that has become known as Kane Brown. A little bit of backstory on me and how I kind of got started into wheeling. It dates back probably to as far back as 1998 maybe. There's a Polaroid picture floating around there somewhere of me and my brother, and we're in one of those Power Wheels Jeeps. I don't know whether it was a CJ or what it was, but it's old. And I've probably been around wheeling like my whole life. So since I was probably 2 years old, I've been into wheeling. My parents kind of got me into it. And I don't even know if they were really getting me into it at that time. I don't even think they knew about it. But it's been a part of my life as long as I can remember. So going back, I don't think that I ever really got serious into wheeling until I bought my first Cherokee, and we called it White Trash. And that was the Jeep that I ultimately sold the coupe, and where all the parts from Blue Collar came from. So let's go back to when I was probably, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. My dad had a TJ, a black TJ, and it wasn't anything special. We threw a lift on it, just one that you can buy offline. It was like I think it was a rough country lift, and it was a 2.5 manual, so it had AX5 in it. And I remember being that kid, and I thought, man, this thing is sweet. My dad babied that Jeep. He loved it. It was clean. It was a really clean, I think it was a 97 TJ. No, it wasn't. 98, 99, I don't know. It was a TJ. Anyways, amazing looking Jeep. Had 33s on it. We started out with 31s, Cooper, STs. Absolutely amazing Jeep. But I would say that Jeep probably is what started it all for me. So we ended up ultimately selling that Jeep around the time that my brother was probably about 14, 15. And we bought a 99 Jeep XJ, which that XJ became known as White Trash. So long story short, my brother bought that Jeep off my parents, or he got it as a graduation gift. So in 2012, they gave it to him as a graduation present. And that's the Jeep that started it all. I remember my brother driving that Jeep back and forth to school, back and forth to work. I remember when my dad owned it, we put a 3.5-inch Rubicon Express lift kit on it. We thought that thing was the baddest unit in northern Michigan. And I'm a young kid. I'm 13 maybe at the time, 12, 13, somewhere around there. I don't even know. And I was like, this thing is freaking badass. Like, this is the coolest thing that you'll ever see. So fast forward a few years, I ended up buying that Jeep off of my brother because he had bought a truck at that time, and I needed something to get me back and forth to school and work and everything like that. And I bought this 99 XJ off of him and didn't know anything about wheeling. I mean, back in those times, the only people that you had that were around wheeling, because YouTube wasn't a huge thing, were like Ian from Extreme 4x4. And we watched Ian religiously like every Sunday on Power Blog. Absolutely amazing. And so anyways, I bought this 99 XJ and I thought it was the coolest thing. It's sitting on 31s, the same 3.5-inch Rubicon Express lift kit. And I was driving it back and forth to school daily. I mean, I was going from my school to another school so I could take my vocational classes back home. I was doing 70 some miles a day in this thing. It was my daily driver. I put it on the highway, everything. And around probably, I graduated high school, and it was probably about 2017, 2018, when my brother finally got another Jeep that he was going to budget build. And when he started building that one, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll start building this one. I had a different vehicle at that point. I wasn't daily in it. And it was, I don't even know. That was probably when I realized that wheeling was like something I could get into. Me and this 99 Jeep White Trash, like, we were inseparable. My brother started building his, which was also a 99 Cherokee at the time, and he was doing things to it like long arms and a little bit of suspension work and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't need all of that. Like it does everything that I needed to do. No, it definitely did not. I didn't understand like how far and how big wheeling was and like the things that you could do. Like I thought my Jeep on short arms was the baddest thing around, and it had 31s, and I bought some Dick CPEC, DC2 wheels, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And little did I know that it was not. So fast forward a few years, anyways, I did a couple of things after my brother started building his Jeep because I wanted to, you got to keep up with the Joneses, So my brother long armed his Jeep, and I was like, all right, well, I see how much more like flex and articulation shit that you have. I want to do that. So I bought a Trail Logic kit for it, and I thought it was the coolest thing. Like seeing how much more flex I had, and I wasn't limited to my short arms, was absolutely amazing. And then that's kind of what stemmed from it. Like, I guess that's kind of what like started me off was I realized how much more you could do. So I go from long arms to lunchbox lockers to the 31s aren't cutting it anymore. I need 33s. So I bought a set of recap 33s. They all had BFG sidewalls, but they were retreads, and they were like a knockoff Toyo. The best tire I thought that you could get. They cost me $110 a pop or something like that because they were retreads, and you can't even find retreads anywhere. I managed to find some sketchy website online that I thought was going to be like the way to go. So I bought these retread 33s, threw them on it, and then we ended up wheeling with a couple of the guys that my brother works with, and I will say to this day, those were the guys that got me like where I am in my wheeling career. Like, we're wheeling with these guys, my buddy John Davenport and Ben Smith, people from up here in northern Michigan that like I knew about, but I'd never really wheeled with. And it wasn't until 2019, I think it was, we made our first trip to Drummond Island, and seeing what their rigs were capable of and thinking that mine was the baddest unit around, that's when I realized, I was like, you have a lot more to learn about wheeling than you even know. So getting into it a little bit, after our first Drummond trip, I realized that long arms, no winch, a shitty bumper that me and my dad and brother built when I think my brother was a junior in high school out of angle iron, and some pre-bent tube that we had already had in our scrap pile wasn't cutting it. So after our first Drummond trip, I put a Amazon bumper on it. I threw a really nice Smitty built winch on it, and I threw a lunchbox locker in it, and I thought, this is it. That Jeep I thought was going anywhere, and it did everything that I needed it to do. Fast forward another like month or two after that, I had a junkyard Ford 88 that me and my brother had pulled out of a Ford Explorer from my uncle's junkyard. And I was like, I'm going to put that in my Jeep. I have no idea how to do this stuff. I don't know what YouTube is. I don't know how to look this stuff up. So I look at what my Jeep needs and what it was going to take to put it in there, and I threw that 88 in there. Well, it was a C-clip 88. I didn't want a C-clip. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that it was junk. So I do a Yukon swap on it, and I turn it into a semi-float. Once I got that 88 in there and I locked it, that Jeep was unstoppable. Thought, man, I don't need anything more than this. I was still running a 3.5-inch lift kit, but I'm long armed, I'm locked front and rear. This thing is absolutely amazing. Like, this is where this build is going to stop because it does everything I needed to do. Well, I start wheeling with my brother and John and Benny Moore, and I realize that 33s aren't cutting it. I got to jump up tire size. So I jump on Marketplace and I find a set of 35 Cooper STT Pros. Really good deal. And they're on some stock car wheels. Thinking, this is it. Like 35s, I'm gonna be able to do anything that these guys can do, and I'm on half the tire that they're on. So I buy those 35s. I throw it on, and this Jeep is looking exactly how I want it to. It's doing everything I need it to do. It's flexing like crazy. I'm still on leaf springs in the back. Like, I don't need anything else. And then I start wheeling with John and Benny even more. I realize that tire pressure is a huge thing. Okay, so they taught me so much throughout the years that I had no idea even played a factor into wheeling. Again, I didn't know what wheeling was. I didn't jump on YouTube at this point. I didn't know what anything was. Well, then I start watching videos online, and I get hooked on Bleepin' Jeep, you know, Dex's Jeeps, Flex Rocks and Rollovers, you know, people like that. And I see what their rigs are capable of. I'm like, I want that. And mind you, my white XJ is an absolute Michigan pile of shit. Like, it's rusty. It's completely rusty. There's more rust on it than I think the fucking Edmund Fitzgerald has. Like, it looks like it's sat at the bottom of Lake Superior for its whole life. But it has a lot of good parts on it. And I thought, well, the worst case scenario, I buy a different Jeep and I swap everything over to it. A clean shell, it is what it is. I can put anything that I have on an XJ, a TJ, whatever I find, I can do it. So around probably 2020, 2021, I realized how far gone my Jeep actually is. And I think, man, it's time to start a new build. So around that time, my brother had already been through I don't know how many Jeeps, too many to count. My buddy John kind of got out of wheeling. Benny was on his way out, and I needed something different. So I hop on Marketplace. I'm a kid that's got money, and I'm looking to spend, and I'm ready to start my next build, right? I'm looking for a YJ. Why do I want a YJ? Couldn't tell you. Hate leaf springs. Everybody knows that I hate leaf springs. But I'm thinking coilovers, you know, shit like that. That's the stuff that's like running through my mind now because I've got a little bit more of an idea of what it's going to take to build a sweet rig. So I jump on Marketplace. I can't find anything that I want. Like, I'm finding all these things, but they're going to take way too much work, way too much time. I don't want to be without a rig for that long. I already had it in the works with Coop at this point that he was going to buy my white Jeep. And I told him, I was like, you're basically buying the parts. The body, the shell, everything is not going to last that long, but you have so much into parts that you're buying the parts and you're getting a running, driving Jeep for free pretty much. And then my brother sends me this. And this Jeep, I remember seeing it on Marketplace, and it had good bones. It was a Southern Jeep, but the way that it was put together, which wasn't even put together, was absolute trash. I didn't like it. I hemmed and hawed on it for too long, and then finally one day I realized, I was like, you're probably not going to get much better than this. Message the guy. This Jeep was sitting down in Dayton, Ohio, and I messaged the guy. He said, yeah, you can come look at it. Make sure you bring a trailer. Alright. So, me and my brother, we weld a winch mount on my trailer. The night before we go down there to pick this up, hook up, and we shoot for Dayton, Ohio the next morning. I remember backing across 4 lanes of traffic into this small ass driveway, opening up the garage door, and there it sat, in pieces. It had a Dana 44 in the front, low pinion Dana 44. It had a Dana 60 in the rear, which I knew nothing about at this time. All I knew was that Kyle's Jeep had a Dana 44. It seemed to do pretty decent. This one has a 44. What is a 60? I don't know. But I remember opening up his garage door, seeing it, seeing how solid it was and how much work it needed, and thinking, is this really what I want? Did you just drive 4.5 hours for something you're not too sure about? Spent countless money and fuel to get down here? And I hemmed and hawed about it for a long time. We look it over and my brother's like, it's got good bones. It's got a lot of good parts to start off with. It's not going to be a nice wheeling rig until you put some time into it, but it's got potential. And as soon as he said, it's got potential, that's when I thought, alright, let's do this. And My brother is probably one of the best unknown Jeep builders that you will probably never hear about. And I say that because I've seen some of the rigs he's had, I've seen some of the rigs he's built, I've seen some of the stuff that he's built for these rigs, and that is kind of what stems me to like want to be better and be the best that I can be, which is not very good. Trust me, I'm not a good wheeler. I'm not anything that you see on YouTube. I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm a hobby wheeler. I just like it. So when he said it had potential, that's when I realized. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. We're taking this thing home. We winch it up on the trailer. It doesn't even have an oil pan in it, on it. I can't hear it run. I don't know anything about this Jeep, but I'm spending this money on it, and it's coming home with me. Fast forward a little bit, I get it home. It's sitting on this horrific Skyjacker lift kit that makes it look like a mini mega truck. It's like 8.5 inches of lift, and I hated it. I want low, I want sleek. I'm not running this lift. So I garbage all of that. I start building steering on it, and I basically had to take everything that this guy did to this Jeep and redo it. I'm starting from scratch. All I have is a clean shell at this point. I'd already sold my white Jeep to Coupe. I had no parts. I had no money. I didn't know what I was going to do. All I knew was I was without a Jeep, and I didn't like it. So over the course of 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it was, I kept building this Jeep when I had the time, when I had the money. And mind you, I am a 20-something-year-old adult, I guess, and I'm working one job. I have one income. I don't have any build sponsors. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have anything. I have no way of getting my name out there. So I'm spending money out of pocket that I have left over after I pay my bills so I can build my Jeep. And I started out in the front, cut the truss off it, got the axle rotated the way I wanted it, cut the C's off of it, welded those back on, and started building the steering. Once I started building the steering, I started seeing this thing come together. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I buy some used leaf springs off the marketplace, I put it on it, got this Jeep sitting right where I wanted it at ride height. It's got some really shitty, like, Geolander 40s on it with some, I don't even know what kind of wheels. Sold those things. We're getting rid of those, right? And it's running around on my stock Dodge wheels that I had off of my Cummins. And it's sitting in my dad's garage for I don't know how long. And I'm trying to build this thing when I can. When I have days off of work, whatever. And then I bought my house. So I was in the process of buying my house. My Jeep's still not done. I'm trying to get it all figured out to where I can start building this thing at my house so I'm not spending so much time and taking up more of my dad's shop space. Once I buy my house, first thing I did was my Jeep came here. And I started building it over here. And I am in right now, this is the same garage that I built this Jeep in. It's a single car garage, same garage that we built Coupe's Jeep in a couple of our other videos. And I've got it sitting in here. Front end's all done on it. I got the steering worked out on it. I got the rear axle where I wanted it, pinion angle set the way I wanted it. I'm only sitting 2 inches back, and it's coming together. Well, we had a trip, mind you, this is in September. We had a trip up to Drummond planned for October, and I was like, I am not going up to Drummond Island again without a Jeep. This thing will be done. So I have 30 days maybe to get my Jeep ready to go back up to Drummond Island. And I'm sitting here every night after work, every day on my day off, and I'm working on this thing, trying to get it as close as possible so that way I can wheel up on Drummond. And I don't even have tires or wheels. I don't know what I'm going to do for tires and wheels. I don't want to do 37s. I'm definitely not running 35s. Like, this is going to be a big Jeep. So I get a hold of a guy that my buddy Tommy had bought tires off of down in Holland, Randy. And I asked Randy, I was like, hey Randy, you ever figure out if you want to sell those 40s off of your Jeep? Yeah, I was just getting ready to list them actually. Cool, I'll take them. So me and my brother shoot down to Holland, and I buy these pro comps that I absolutely hated. But he's like, for this amount of money, I'll even throw in wheels. Say less. I need tires. I need wheels. I bring them home and I'm like, well, I've always wanted bead locks. I'm not going to not have bead locks. So I jump online and Total Mental Innovations had weld-on bead locks. Well, I'm not going to spend the money on like, KMCs or race lines. That's just crazy. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have sponsorships. I don't have anything. So I buy these weld-on bead locks, bolts, everything. The amount of money that I had probably into those, I should have just bought different wheels. But you live and you learn, and they're still on the Jeep, so obviously I'll get all that stuff going. We're getting down to the last couple of days, and I finally am able to pull my Jeep out of the garage. I pull my Jeep out of the garage. I do a flex test in my freaking driveway in my ditch, and I'm like, this thing is ready. All I need is hydro assist, and she's good to go. And fast forward a little bit, we go up to Drummond Island that weekend, and I'm thinking, I'm finally taking my Jeep up there. The Jeep that I've always wanted, the Jeep that I've wanted to build for so long, it's finally going. I broke just about everything that could be broke in the first day that we were on Drummond. I forgot to weld my track bar mount on. It was just tacked. That thing broke on the island in the worst place possible. We jerry-rigged that back together. I keep wheeling the rest of the weekend. Find out that I can't tuck it in the rear like I was hoping, and I snap an axle shaft off because I'm still running stock axle shafts in the rear of it. Snap an axle shaft. My weekend's over at that point. I wheel it out on 3 wheels, back to the cabin, load it up, and I'm thinking, all right, this is how you learn. So you find your weak points. After that, I realized, okay, I got to cut the wheel wells. So I cut the wheel wells out of the rear of it, and this is when the Kole cut became a thing. And I get it all where I want it. I have a lot of tuck space. I buy Yukon gear. No, they were East Coast gear. Chrome ollie rear shafts that I had to have custom made for it because nobody had them around. And I throw those in the rear of him, like chrome ollie shafts in the rear. This thing's going to be unbreakable. I throw a set of chrome ollie shafts in the front of it. I don't have the money for RCBs. And plus, I don't have that much of a lead foot. So I do all of that stuff. And finally, this Jeep is coming back to life. I get the track bar mount actually welded on there. And this thing is taking shape. So we fast forward a few years after that, whatever. And now you have this Jeep that is where it is today.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
So that's the story of me. That's the story of Kane Brown. And if you guys are still wondering how Kane Brown actually got his name, when I picked this Jeep up, the guy that I bought it from was a spitting image of Kane Brown, just a little bit shorter. And from the minute that we pulled out of his driveway, my brother started calling this Jeep Kane Brown, and it just kind of stuck. So that's how Kane Brown got his name. And this is your basic video of how to build a budget-friendly rock crawler that doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. You don't need sponsors. You don't need build partners. You don't need any of that stuff. This Jeep was built all out of pocket in my spare time with spare parts. So on that note, if you enjoyed the video, awesome. Like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't, I really don't care. Like, I do this out of fun, so whether you liked it or not, I don't care. I had fun making this video, and I hope that you guys can get some ideas off of Kane Brown and continue to build your Jeeps and continue to go out there and do the things that you love doing, because we all start somewhere and there's no end to a build. So this thing has got a lot more coming for it, and I can't wait for you guys to see that. Hopefully you'll see that. We shall see. So on that note, like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching, guys.
Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.